Hi, let me introduce myself. I'm Harold O. Conn, C-O-N-N. I'm a physician. I'm retired. I have spent my entire professional life as a member of the faculty of the Yale School of Medicine. I retired in 1992. Shortly after I retired, I noticed that I was having very minor clumsiness of my gait. When I walked, it didn't feel quite steady. I didn't pay much attention to it, but it gradually worsened over a period of 3 or 4 years, at which point I did consult a neurologist, a man I chose myself as the best Yale neurologist, and he took care of me for a year or so. He was giving me various medicines for the treatment of Parkinson's disease, a disease which was confirmed by 2 or 3 other highly respected neurologists. Nevertheless, the illness progressed. I had no other symptoms. After it had been around for 5 years, he thought that the disease was accelerating, and he gave me a terrible prognosis. My wife and I moved to Florida. I offered my services at the University of Miami and was appointed professor of neurosurgery, working with the liver transplant program, because all of my preceding 50 years had been spent working with liver disease. When it got to the stage that I could not walk at all, I wrote my neurologist in Connecticut and asked him if he would authorize an electric scooter so that I could get around. For reasons that are not clear, he refused. I showed his refusal letter to my attending physician here in Miami, and he was very upset. He said, "I'm an endocrinologist and I cannot sign this, but he can't stop me from sending you to another neurologist, and I have a very good one in mind." He sent me to a new, much younger neurologist who, after he had examined me and seen my MRI, he wrote out the authorization for the scooter and said, "Dr. Conn, I have a very pleasant surprise for you. You do not have Parkinson's disease. I think you have a disease called normal pressure hydrocephalus, which is abbreviated in the trade as NPH. The nice thing about it is it is completely reversible, unlike Parkinson's disease, which doesn't respond to treatment." A few days later, I was seen by a neurologist, by a neurosurgeon, who did a large lumbar puncture, removing perhaps 2 ounces of spinal fluid. And as the fluid dripped out, I began to feel better, And when 2 ounces had been removed, I was able to slide off the examining table and walk virtually normally. She arranged thereafter for me to have a shunt operation which connected my brain to my peritoneal cavity, and that restored me on a permanent basis practically to normal. That was 6 years ago. I dedicated my new life to spreading the word about NPH because it's a disease that is not common, but it's not rare. I believe from my own studies and others in the literature that every apartment house or condominium in Florida has 1 or 2 patients with this, and it appears at the age when they buy condominia, about 65 or 70 years of age. The nice thing, of course, is that it's reversible, and the operation is not a severe one. Patients respond very rapidly to it, and it is essentially free of morbidity and mortality. In the past 6 years since it was done, I've been writing medical articles, speaking on television, on radio, and trying to spread the word about this reversible disease. If it isn't treated, the patients are either put in nursing homes or chronic hospitals and die within a few months or sometimes years. During all of that time, they usually end up bed-bound or wheelchair-bound, and another part of the disease is they lose control of their sphincters. They can't control their bladder or their bowels, so they don't smell very wholesome, and it is a terrible way to die unnecessarily. As I said, it's a relatively common disease. My estimate is that there are 1 million Americans currently alive who will develop this disorder before they die. Thank you for your attention.